KUGAN CASSIUS Rifle Team in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're in New York, Brooklyn, flown over all the way from Manchester.
Heathrow, we flew from Heathrow, KUGAN, 2-hour delay on there, but yeah, and over here Brooklyn, we've not got our bearings. Me and Callum, we set off to go and have a walk around this morning, and we ended up somewhere where we're not supposed to, so we've managed to get back here in time for the media luncheon for Callum.
It's not always the opportunity where a Brit comes to fight here in New York on the high scale, but it's a great place for boxing, isn't it, New York?
No, yeah, definitely. We was here last year with Stephen Smith before he went over to Connecticut for his fight, and it's a great city. We've seen some kids from Dale Youth going up to Gleason's gym this morning, and we'll be going up there ourselves later on. But this is a great fight city, isn't it? And it isn't just a normal show. You know, all the stars are here, aren't there? See Glofican, Jacobs here, their presser here. Was it yesterday, the day before? Mayweather here.
Tuesday, yeah. Was,
so everyone to do with boxing's over here, and so it's a big fight.
And come Saturday, you know, you can sit there all relaxed, knowing
for a change,
that,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you and Callum
change,
sitting there knowing that this is kind of your destiny. The winner of that fight will have to fight Callum or vacate the title.
Yeah.
Speaking to Eddie Hearn yesterday, he said that, you know, if DeGALE wins, you know, it sets up that huge all British world title clash. If Badou Jack wins, he sees the possibility of Badou Jack potentially vacating that title as well. What do you think?
I seen Mayweather said yesterday this is Badou Jack's last fight at 168, win or lose. He's looking for Badou Jack, if he wins, to move up, fight Andre Ward, lose, move up and try and get the Andre Ward fight. I think that's what they're trying to do. So this is Badou Jack's last fight, win or lose. James DeGale, he's got a great chance of winning this fight. I enjoyed Eddie's war speech yesterday. And I know there's like blowjobs in boxing, but Jesus Christ, he swallowed DeGale's spunk yesterday as well, didn't he? But we'll have to have a word with him here there now when he says there's no style to beat James DeGale. So yeah, listen, well, it'll be a great event if it does happen with Chunky and Callum Smith. But this weekend, that's what it's all about. Another point yesterday, they said, oh, this is a battle for the best in the world. It is, but let's not forget Gilberto Ramirez. In my personal opinion, for its worth, and most will get stated, but I think he's the number one. What he did to Arthur Abraham, the way that he schooled and boxed him, and he's gone off the radar with an injury, but he's coming back. But he's a very talented fighter. All the belts are on the line. DeGale and Jack Saturday night, the Ring Magazine belt, as well as the unification belts. But Gilberto Ramirez, let's not forget about him. He's a very, very, very good fighter, and he's one not to be forgotten about in this division. It's an exciting division.
You've had to be patient. Callum's had to be patient. It's been a long time. He's sort of sat there as this mandatory challenger for this WBC title, but it's edging, isn't it? It's edging there, and you're going to get this shot.
Definitely. I said to Callum on the way out. I said, "Do what does it feel like, Callum? It must feel like Christmas. There's the date. You know it's happening. It's just a case of counting down the days, the weeks, and it's happening." And Callum is in the gym, he's training. After his last fight, he had a little break to Dubai, and he's in and he's training. We'll be ready, whether it comes May, June, but Callum Smith's got to be ready. And if you look as well, we were looking as well, if James DeGale throws a curve ball and decides to vacate the belts, you look at Darrell. Darrell's fighting, is it tonight? He's fighting tonight. He's fighting one of Callum Smith's former opponents. In a tick-over and a marking time fight. He's now become the number 2, and I can see what they're doing there with Team Darrell, in the fact that they're giving him an outing just in case the belts do vacated, and they make the Smith Darrell, and Darrell's most probably picked that opponent who Callum Smith has fought as a leveller to see what he was like to Callum tonight. Does that make sense? A common theme opponent. So yeah, no, let's not forget Darrell. He's on the heels. So. We'll have to see. Like I say, on paper, and we're sat here now, it means Callum Smith fights DeGale Badou Jack. You know and I know, KUGAN, come February time, it could be Callum Smith versus Andre Darrell. That's our quick boxing terms. So all we know is we are fighting for the world title. Whoever the opponent is, we'll know that by February, March time.
I mean, as great it is for British boxing that we kind of want to see DeGale and Callum Smith, you're right, you've got to be open to sort of any possibility that arises from after what happens on Saturday night. And the main aspect and point for Callum is that he's getting that world title shot regardless of who it is.
Yeah, no, exactly. You just got to look at the people in the position. James DeGale wins Saturday night. Okay, his mandatory is Callum Smith. What's if Andre Ward picks up the phone and says, "Hi, would you like to fight me?" James DeGale goes, "I'm having a bit of that. Drop them belts. I've been there, done it. I'm going fighting Andre Ward." He can't get slated. He's fighting, in my opinion, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, if not the best pound-for-pound fighters. The same with Badou Jack. So you've got all that's going on. Do you really want to fight Callum Smith when there's them big type of money fights out there for him? Or Triple G decides, "Hey James, would you fancy a fight? We can't do the Canelo." So there's all other aspects and outside influences, but we've just got to stay focused, and we know we've got to fight for that belt by the summer.
What do you make of the fight itself between Jack and DeGale? We've seen since Jack's defeat to Derek Edwards quite a dramatic improvement in his performances since then, and again with DeGale, he a little bit inactive last year, but since beating Brandon Gonzalez, we've seen glimpses of real quality from James over the last 2 years as well.
I think with Chunky, when the chips are down and he has to perform, he performs. I was there in Beijing in 2008. Not many people had given him much hope of winning the gold medal over there. Went and won that. Came back, went and beat. Then he's also beat Darrell on the road, which was a very good win. And then the Porky Medina's not really getting the juices going. This has got Chunky's juices going. Also, as far as Badou Jack, he's a fighter that obviously he had his setback, but he's come back and he's a world champion. That's improved. If you watch his fight with Butte, the things that he did early on to negate his southpaw style, then obviously he showed everyone what not many people thought he did have was power, with the right hand of George Groves in that fight early on. And he didn't get, what did he say? He didn't lose his composure in that fight. He stayed disciplined. He's kept to the basics. And I do think to myself, Badou Jack, this is the best Badou Jack, but I think James DeGale, I think this is going to be the best James DeGale, because he knows he has to be the best to beat Badou Jack. Saying that though, it's all about styles, and stylistically wise, I think James DeGale's all wrong for Badou Jack. I think Chunky's movement, his feet, switching, he changes his feet very quick up close from southpaw to orthodox. How do you prepare for that? It's very hard. Me as a coach personally, I want Badou Jack to win, because planning for Badou Jack, and that's no disrespect, a little bit straightforward, orthodox fighter. Preparing for James DeGale, how many James DeGales is there to get into for sparring, preparing for him? So they're the problems that persist. But the thing with Chunky, his mind in a few of the fights of late has switched off. Even when he fought Darrell, he had quiet moments. Is the weight hurting him? Is the weight hurting Badou Jack? This is what makes it a fascinating fight. They're both big, they're both looking well. The fact that Floyd has come out and said this is Badou Jack's last fight, he's struggling with the weight. Same here, we brought him over from the west coast to the east coast here. And the people, like I say, you've seen with Leo Santa Cruz, he wasn't the same fighter over here, do you understand, when he fought Carl Frampton. Neither was Brandon Rios when he failed weight with John Murray. I think this is Chunky's time. I think it's his time to shine, and I think he'll put a great performance in Saturday night.
Certainly hope so. We'll ask your opinion on the chief support on the bill. Obviously a fighter that you know relatively well in Jose Pedraza, taking on the undefeated Gervonta Davis. Yeah. Eddie Hearn saying to Lennon Ellaby yesterday, what about Stephen Smith versus Gervonta Davis? It's Eddie Hearn now. What do you make of that fight, first of all?
It's a great fight. I think Pedraza's a very good fighter. Gervonta Davis is a young fighter coming through 16 fights, 15 by knockout. Southpaw, but I think people forget. Morning, how you doing, mate? All right. But I think people are forgetting what a quality fighter Pedraza is. Pedraza can do southpaw as well as he can do orthodox, and I feel Gervonta Davis, being a southpaw, isn't going to make that much difference. Pedraza can box good. He's beat bigger fighters, Edna Cherry, for an example, more solid hitters than Gervonta Davis. I think it's a great opportunity for Gervonta Davis, but I think Pedraza's just got the better skill set and the experience.
Any updates on Paul Smith and Ziga?
No, you speak to your man there now, Eddie, last guy. Okay. No, nothing.
Nothing.
Waiting to speak to him, so that's it, yeah. No, we're just, obviously, Crawler Linares rematch, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, really looking forward to that. Hopefully we've got Burton Buglione rematch. I believe Eddie's offered them huge money for the rematch. 90,000 at Wembley. Why wouldn't you want to fight there in a great fight? Boxing News voted it the #2 British fight of the year, so that makes sense. So hopefully they'll be done, and there'll be some news on the other fighters soon.
News on Quigg, will he fight on that card? The
I'd
Polar
love
Lilo
Quigg.
stuff?
No, I'd want Quigg to fight at Wembley. I think that's a right platform for him. It allows me to concentrate on Anthony Crolla for his fight, and then after that, then it'll allow me to concentrate for the April kids, which possibly be Stephen Smith and Scott Quigg. I think if Scott Quigg to fight at Wembley Stadium, 90,000, his profile, a pay-per-view event. Because I remember Scott Quigg, pay-per-view fighter. He made his comeback on the short finger. I think that's the better platform for Scott Quigg to fight on there.
Yeah. And we're waiting some news on Liam Smith, which should be announced soon.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the news on Liam Smith and Paul Butler, so you might know before me, mate.
I think I already do.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're only a couple of weeks into January, but how do you sum up your 2016 as a whole for you?
I think it was, you can look at it either half empty or half full. I thought it was a very good year. I thought the fighters, they weren't about the fame, they were about the game. They wanted to test themselves against the best in the world. Liam Smith fought Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Crolla fought Jorge Linares, Stephen Smith fought two good fighters, and Pedraza and Sosa, and Scott Quigg fought Carl Frampton. A few of them fighters could have sat on the world title and fought against your, say, Jojo Danzo, run-of-the-mill kids, you understand? But they didn't go to test themselves again. And you look at Anthony Crolla, he could have come back and come back like no, but he wants Linares again. Liam Smith chomping at the bit, wants to get at it again. And the hungry kids want to go out there and prove everyone that they can compete. And none of them disgraced themselves last year. But we had a good year last year with kids coming through. Callum Johnson had a great win. Jose Burton had a good win and then a great fight with Frank Buglione. Marcus Morrison coming through. Scott Cardle started the year as British champion, ended the year as British champion. Paul Butler had 2 fights come through. Yeah, it was a RGK, 3 wins. Chance of a big fight for him now. So yeah, it's got to be it was a good year last year, and when everyone turns pro, they want to fight in the big fights, in the big stadiums, and test themselves against the best in the world. And 3-4 of the kids did that last year.
We thought we might see the possibility of Cardle fighting Luke Campbell for the British title. Is that a fight that still could possibly happen this year?
Yeah, it could happen. We're open to that. Yeah, no problem. I think Cardle just had his mandatory, wants a voluntary now. Win the belt outright, and I said to Eddie, no problem, we'll put that in. There's options there for Scott Cardle, win that, we can go for the European title. Almost we'll see, do any of the world champions fancy giving Scott Cardle a shot?
Okay. Now, away from your fighters, I just want to ask your opinion. What's your whole take on the whole Chris Eubank pay-per-view situation?
Yeah, listen, Chris Eubank Jr. as a coach and his training ethic and his work ethic and everything else, I'm an admirer of him. I think he's a right solid fighter. I know there's flack coming his way, but I think it's a little bit unnecessary. I think it's the people around him that are bringing it on him. But for himself as a fighter, his discipline, his dedication, the way that he applies himself, his work ethic, his hunger, his desire, I'm a huge fan of him. As far as the pay-per-view setup, I thought myself, KUGAN, when the first set, I thought, they'll go low here and high numbers. They'll start off with like a $3.99 or a $4.99, dip the toes in the water. It's come out at $12.99 and now it's $9.95 for an early bird package. But what it's done, KUGAN, daft as it sounds, we're sat here talking about it. And that's the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's not fighting on. He's not even had a fight yet. And there's more talk in the papers, I suppose, this week of Eubank than there was than James DeGale. Do you understand? And his dad's doing what for his son, what he did for himself, causing print and papers and news without ever fighting. Whether Chris was going on a truck round Brighton or whatever, he's just doing the same thing for his son. But like I said, the pay-per-view format, I think it's mad really that people got to pay say $12.99 to watch the event, but the whole show's on ITV for free. But you're only paying that for Chris, and it's like I say, it could be a black eye for boxing and scare people away from the pay-per-view model. People have been burnt in the past by the pay-per-view model and Sky, and when people hear pay-per-view, it just scares them to death. And then hopefully ITV and it going wrong, if it does, doesn't put people off future Sky pay-per-view events, if that makes sense.
I mean, the undercard, from what we've seen, seems decent. With David Price on the bill and got Etches and Ryder. I mean, but you're right. That part of it's free, and then
yeah, I think it's good for David Price. I think David Price, it was a very good move. Get him on ITV4, get his name out there again. A couple of fights have been in Germany, been on the scene, but he can put his name in the mix at the beginning of the year, early on, for whatever fights there is there in the summer. I know he called Anthony Joshua out, but if he fights and he does well in his performances, get people talking about him in work Monday morning when they go back to work. They'll be saying, did you see that big Scouse heavyweight and knock that kid out at the weekend? And he gets people talking about David Price again.
Why haven't you ever trained a heavyweight?
I did Mike Holden.
Oh, of course you did, Mike Holden,
Mike
yeah.
for one fight, and that's it. Some Stables chocker.
Forgot
at the
about
moment.
Mike Holden, actually.
Yes, Stables chocker at the moment. So that's it. That's it. Really, the arms are in bits, and Stables chocker. So no one's really come knocking, to be honest. And that's it. I don't know. It's a different animal, different breed training a heavyweight, isn't it? So there you go. We'll see.